Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Accounting Podcast. I'm Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary.
And today we have an exciting guest who's making waves in the accounting world. Known as the Queen of TikTok in accounting circles, she's a social media sensation and the founder and director of Two Sides Accounting and Two Sides Academy. She was recently featured on the cover of Acuity magazine. She's also a passionate advocate for work-life balance, having implemented a 4-day workweek at her firm. Welcome to the show, Natalie Lennon.
Wow, that was a pretty cool intro. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, David, for having me. I'm very excited to be here on. It's listed as the best accounting podcast in the world that I saw.
I don't know
on
if we're the
Google.
best, but we are the most
one.
downloaded.
Yeah. No, let's just cut that out and go just the best. Number one.
Just the best. People might not love us, but that's okay because they listen. And we're really happy to talk to you, Natalie, because I got to meet you at XeroCon in Nashville. And I'm so eager to get your take on Xero and XeroCon, given that you are in the Australian market where Xero dominates. And you came over to the US and got to see what it's like here, where Xero is a competitor to QuickBooks. So I'm curious, what'd you think of the event?
And I guess just to talk about how we actually met, it was funny because I was contacting Blake and trying to get him on my podcast and thought, let's catch up at XeroCon. And we didn't actually get to catch up at XeroCon. And then we met in the pool at the hotel. So It was definitely, we were definitely meant to meet. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, let's get into it. So XeroCon in Nashville was so amazing. I didn't expect to get as much out of it as I did. I thought, it's cool to go to Nashville, probably somewhere that I'd never, it wasn't on my list of places to go. And then when I got the opportunity to come along, I thought, let's just go and see what it's all about. XeroCon's always a fun time. And also being on the Xero Partner Advisory Council for Australia, I was very lucky to get to travel with 11 of my good friends as well, which also makes, for a fun time. But just learning about, some of the differences between, American accounting and Australian accounting, and how there is a lot of similarities, but then there's a lot of things that are very, very different. So it's very interesting to find out, that your businesses can choose their year end, which I thought was absolutely wild. And I don't know how you guys track that. You guys have got over 700 direct bank feeds in Xero. We've got around 50 to 60. So that was pretty wild. A couple of us Australians were sitting in the front row when they announced the feature request about the extra step in the bank rec. And I know you were talking about this on your last podcast about how this is great. This is, game changing for Xero in America. And we're all sitting there going, please do not bring that back. So for me, when I first started using Xero, and I guess a lot of accountants and bookkeepers will feel the same way, we were like, where's that second step in the bank rec? And then as we got to using it, we were like, this is great. It's a lot quicker because you just do the match screen and then you don't have to go onto the next screen. So we don't want it to come back. Whereas I think American accountants, as you said on the last podcast, Blake, are very set in their ways and they're so used to doing that in QuickBooks that they needed this step.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting to me that the Australian accountants were able to adapt to it and adjusted. Was that like a long process of many years, or are you all just like tech forward and it wasn't a problem?
Look, I think it depends who you ask. Like, I love tech and I love change. And so for me and some of the accountants in the circles that I, sort of are in, we love that stuff. And then there is some, older accountants and bookkeepers who probably weren't as quick on the uptake. But it's interesting because in Australia, we always think that America is so far forward in tech. You guys have got Silicon Valley and Google and all those things, but then there is some things that we seem to be ahead with. So like, for example, the tap to pay that Xero announced, which is awesome. In Australia, we've been tapping to pay at shops and supermarkets and things for years and years, but I've heard that the US hasn't had that for a very long time.
I think this past year was the first time where almost everywhere I go, I'm paying with tap to pay.
Yeah.
And probably because of Apple Pay.
Yeah.
I was in Nashville and I tried to pay with cash somewhere and they wouldn't take it. So we finally gotten there. It took a while though. I mean, you've been doing this for a decade, it seems like.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just blows my mind that there is some things that we do quicker, some things that you guys do quicker. I would think that you would usually start in the US and then filter down to Australia. I don't know. Maybe we are faster to adopt because there's not as many of us as there are in the US. So maybe that's why they do it. I'm not sure.
And I mean, you let go of paper checks. You guys got way off of paper notes
That
and paper
too,
checks
yes.
way before we did here in the States, which we're not even off of yet.
Yeah.
And you're right, the bank reconciliation screen, just in a way, like you have to let go of that concept of the statement. And it was
Yeah.
hard. I had the same problem. I went to Blake. I'm like, how do I reconcile? I couldn't figure it out in Xero.
I know, because as an accountant, you're like, no, but this is not a true bank rec. How do I actually know it's right? And it's like, okay, we've now learned that we go to the bank rec screen, and if it's out of balance, then we're out of balance. It's just those different learnings. But I guess because QuickBooks is obviously the key player in America, it's a little bit difficult. Whereas in Australia, we had Xero, MYB, QuickBooks. Say we had a whole range of different ones. So potentially it wasn't just changing from one to the other. I don't know.
And if I hear the story correctly, or if I have understood the story correctly, one of the reasons Xero got really good traction, and maybe, I don't know, you can speak to how the reason you started using Xero, was that there were some governmental tax changes, or there was some changes and the other desktop apps couldn't implement them fast enough, and Xero was your only option on the market. I don't know if was that kind of why you started using Xero?
Look, I don't know if it was I don't think it was necessarily the tax changes. I think it was more the apps. So a lot of the apps that first started coming out didn't talk to MYB. I don't know, maybe they didn't talk to QuickBooks at the time, and QuickBooks and MYB were still on the desktop, whereas Xero came right out the gate online. So they were able to be a lot more nimble in terms of building the functionality to talk to the apps, whereas QuickBooks and MYB had to try and build the old desktop software and move it to the cloud. And it was very clunky. So in my previous firm, we were an MYB firm. We started dabbling in Xero. And I just remember at the time, and this is still an issue today, I don't understand why, you get onto MYB and there's that many different versions. So the first thing you've got to do is work out what version the client is on. Are they on a desktop that goes to the cloud? Are they on cloud? There's a couple of different, and the logins are all different. Whereas with Xero, you log in once and it's all there. So I think that was also one of the really good things when Xero first came to market, was that it was beautiful software. It spoke to all the different apps that people were really keen to start implementing and using to increase their efficiencies and productivity.
So Natalie, changing topics slightly, you have quite a presence on TikTok, and I'm wondering what inspired you to start using TikTok for your practice. And to give people some numbers behind this, you've got a few TikToks that you got one that has 500,000 views. That's a lot of views. I think many of us would be happy to have 1,000. So what inspired you to start using it, and how has it helped your business?
So it actually sort of started a bit by accident. So started using TikTok during COVID. And I think it was at that period where it was like, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. And it was also the time where I thought, if the world is ending, I don't really care what anybody thinks of me. And so I started just showing up, being me, being a little bit funny, doing some funny videos. And then I started doing a lot of informational videos where I was just talking to camera about some of the things the government was bringing in, because people wanted to know about, all the incentives and what was going on. And it just sort of took off from there, because at that time I was the only accountant doing that, but also doing it with a bit of humor. So I'd get up and I'd do a bit of a skit about, during the lockdown time that couple of the fast food places were closed, but McDonald's was open and you could only get a Big Mac. You couldn't get chicken nuggets, and you had to, like, just some things that were a little bit funny at the time. And when I watch them back, it's a little bit cringe, but at the time I was just having fun, and it just resonated because it was authentic. It was real. And it just went from there.
And so you started sharing, are these tips for business owners? Is this tax advice? Like, what kind of material works for you on TikTok these days?
So I guess it's a bit of a mix. So it's business tips, and business tips, tax tips. And now that I'm mentoring and coaching accountants, some behind the scenes of, what I'm doing in my firm, what works for me, what they should try. I do find the things that work the most is things that are trending at the time. So around tax time, if I do videos on tax rates how individual taxes work and things like that. They're the things that go viral. But, I do want to let people know that if you're starting on social media, going viral is not the be all and end all. It's cool and it's brought me some really good opportunities, but you really just want to connect with your audience and be giving them some value. And back to that one that had over 500,000 views, it was really just me answering a question from a follower. So there's a feature on TikTok where they can ask a question and you can respond with a video. And it was just explaining how the tax rates work in regards to, getting a refund and things like that. And just people were commenting and wanted to know, all about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's a great approach and a great way to get started, because accountants are always getting questions from clients, and you probably are answering the same questions over and over again to the point where you could do it in like 60 to 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And so just if you don't know where to start, try doing that. Try doing a Q&A where you state a question and you can put that behind your head, right, at the top of the screen or something for people to read, and then you just answer it. And that's a great way to create value, and you don't have to be funny or exciting. You're just giving information.
You don't have to think about how to create content. You have the content already. Yeah.
Right.
100%. And this is what I'm teaching the accountants that I'm mentoring. I also have a TikTok for accountants course. And in the course, one of my key takeaways is to just get started. And what I say is to keep a list just on the notes on your computer, or if you're a pen and paper person, just keep a pen and paper on your desk. And every time a client asks you a question about something, write it down and then do a quick video answering it and pop it up there. Like, TikTok is not like Instagram. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be edited. Just quick video and put it up there. Don't think about it.
And then once you get some traction, you could invest some time in learning how to edit videos. But you don't need to do that to start. That's like buying an expensive set of golf clubs before you've been to the driving range or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get started.
And I think that's why I like TikTok so much as well. As I started a bit of, YouTube back in the day, and it just took too long because I had to film it. Then I had to edit it. Then I had to put captions on it. And I had to make sure it was perfect and put a cover on it, all these things. And it just got too hard. Whereas TikTok, you can really just get some quick wins.
Natalie, I'm done scrolling. My arm's too tired to keep scrolling, but you have hundreds and hundreds of videos. I just keep scrolling. But over and over again, I see the pink jacket, the pink brand. You're wearing the pink jacket here.
Yeah.
Is this, you're obviously super conscious about this. Is this your brand? Is like hey, you recognize her because she's always in the pink? Is that?
It's another thing that sort of happened by accident. So I bought the pink jacket because I love pink. I've got pink nails. Pink's like my thing. And then when I posted a video not in my pink jacket, I would get people commenting saying, I didn't realize that was you, not in your pink jacket. And so then I thought, okay, I'm onto something here. So now I try to wear my pink jacket as much as I can. When I go to conferences, unless I'm trying to be stealth and just get in and out, I'll wear my pink jacket and everybody knows where to find me. And it's become this sort of like, where's Nat? There she is. But yeah, it just means I can't go to places on the down low if I'm wearing my pink jacket these days.
Do you have a walk-in closet at your house with like 20 pink jackets? They're all, lined up in a row. That's what I'm picturing.
I've got a couple. They're different shades of pink, and this is my favorite one. And so I'm like, I've had this now for a couple of years, so I'm going to have to invest in another one soon, I think, as a backup.
What I love about it is that it's different. It stands out. Most accounting firms are using very muted, the same color scheme, like a dark blue or, these like stable colors. Yeah. And your brand is completely the opposite of that. And I imagine that resonates with the people who want to work with you.
It definitely does, because it's not, your typical, stuffy old accountant, as I like to refer to them. Most of the time I'm pretty casual. I'm in jeans. I'm approachable. A lot of clients, new clients will come to me and they say, we just love it because you're down to earth. We can approach you. We understand what you're talking about. You're not talking to us as if you're up here and we're down here. We're on the same level. And I think that starts, the whole client journey from beginning right through, to becoming a client, because they're already watching what I'm doing. They're watching the videos. And like Dave and I were saying before, we don't know if we've met in person or not because of social media. So
Right.
it's the same thing when a client comes to me, they feel like they already know me, they already trust me. And so then converting them to a client is a lot easier as well. So that's why I think more of us accountants need to just, we don't like being in front of a camera, I know, but we just need to just, start doing it.
Embrace it. I want to
Yeah.
talk to you about the 4-day work week because in Acuity magazine, you talked about this. Your firm has switched to a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
How has that affected your team and your business? Is it hard to get everything done in 4 days?
Look, at first it was, and look, it can be like it does sometimes feel like those 4 days is like full on everyone trying to get the work done, but everybody really appreciates having that extra day. Sometimes I have that extra day off. Sometimes I use it to work on the business because it's good. I'm not getting interrupted by
Hmm.
anybody. Most of the clients know that we're not around. I do monitor the phone, so the phone goes to voicemail. So if it is important on a Friday, I will pick up the phone and call them back. But generally, they're pretty good. They don't interrupt us. And I think the other part that has contributed to us being able to do the 4-day work week is this time last year we said goodbye to our office, and we're now 100% remote. So there's none of those little chats in the kitchen. There's none of those little things that all add up. Right. And I think that came from COVID, because in COVID, we had so much extra work to do with all the government things we had to help the clients with, but we got everything done. And we were like, well, how did we manage that when this is like our craziest time of year between March and June? And the secret is that we were all at home and we weren't, having those water cooler chats. So now we've taken that out and we can fit more work into the 4 days.
I love that you send the calls to voicemail. That's a big takeaway. I hear others recommend that is don't just pick up the phone. Is a really simple way to, protect your time and to not get constantly interrupted. Are there any other things you do to help maintain work-life balance? Since you're a firm owner, like everything rolls
Yeah.
up to you at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. So just on the voicemail, we also have the voicemail on every day from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Mm,
And what that does is it stops the clients from calling with those silly questions because they'll try and work it out themselves, or they'll email, which means we can triage it from the admin team to whoever needs to look after it. We're not interrupting everyone's day. So that's been a bit of a game changer. And yeah, work-life balance. So I've got 2 little dogs, so I like walking them every morning. My husband owns a gym, which means I have no excuse not to exercise. I've got a built-in trainer who says to me, get up off your butt and get to the gym. And he's there most nights too. So if I'm not there, I'm here on my own. So, it's incentive to go. And I also do like to run. Although when I say like, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. Like I like to run because it's that time where I can really actually switch off my brain. And that's when all my ideas and things, come. And I like it when it's finished.
yeah. I used to love running, but at a certain point, my knees just started to hurt. So I guess
Yeah.
that's just getting older,
Yeah.
and that's why I picked up the swimming. But
Yeah.
you can always stay fit. Like you can, if you can find the time. That was the hard part for me. Was for years and years I never prioritized it. I always had in the order of importance, it was work, and then family, and then health, and of course my health fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have to change that, because ever since I started getting in shape, I have been like mentally more clear than I've ever been in my life. It really has an impact.
Yeah. And look, I say that I try to do all these things, and there's certain times of year when, we're super busy and some of those things do fall on the wayside. But then I think it's important to have it at the front of mind to go, okay, if I'm not going to get to the gym this week because I'm really, really busy with all this stuff, I need to make time
Yeah.
next week and just not let it, not let the routine really drop off. And then 6 months in, you're like, oh no, now I've got to start again.
You let
and
it go
now I'm
for
not
6
well.
months. It's really hard to get started again. And that's the problem we have in the US, is that our busy seasons, we have 2 of them. So it is like 6 months out of the year, and it's hard to get into a routine when you're in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
So you're fully remote. You also embraced a fixed fee model. When was that? Was that a recent thing? Was that something you've been doing for a while?
That was from day one. So in my old firm, I was a partner. I had 2 other partners, but it was a legacy firm that was started in the 80s. So they were very much set in their ways. And we tried to bring in fixed fees, but it just didn't work. I think trying to change clients is hard. So I
Yeah.
think any advice to anyone starting would be start with the new clients, work out what you want to do with the fixed fee. And then when the new clients come in, put them on that. And then eventually you can go back to the older clients and move them in or move them on. And so, yeah, from day one, I was very much fixed monthly fees, packaging everything together. No one likes to get bills and, what they call bill shock,
Yeah.
and not really know, what's coming. They want to plan their cash flow. And so, it's been a bit of a game changer as well, because cash flow wise, I know exactly how much is coming in each month as a base. And obviously there's some ad hoc work that pops up and that's just, icing on the cake. But the base direct debits are happening every month, which means at Christmas time, we normally close for 2 or 3 weeks and no one's freaking out about cash flow. We don't have to have any extra put aside for that. During COVID, it was really good as well because most businesses kept paying. We had a couple of businesses who were really struggling and we put them on pause, and a few things, but it just takes that conversation away as well, because every year at the start of the financial year in July, we re-engage all of our clients for the year. We go, this is the price for the year. These are all the things we're going to do for you. Are you going to sign on again? And 9 times out of 10, they do. Obviously, it's a time of year when people are then looking to change accountants, and we know that. But yeah, for me, I think it's a game changer to have the monthly fixed fees in your accounting firm.
And if I'm looking at your plans, it looks like you have a base plan that gives you taxes. You get 1 meeting a year. And then the next plan up, you don't have a price on, but it looks like it's accessibility. Do you want to have quarterly meetings? It's more frequency, and you're charging for more access, the things you have to charge for, which is access to people, because these are meetings, right? They're a Zoom call, right?
Yeah, so the base package has like a quarterly check-in via email. So we're still sort of giving them that regular touch point, pushing out, these are your profits, these are the things that you need to, you're spending too much here or there, and here's how much to put aside for tax. And then the second plan up is quarterly check-ins with me. The smaller clients, we just do a half an hour Zoom, just a quick what's going on in your business here, look at the figures, that sort of thing. And so some of the bigger clients have an hour meeting each quarter or each month because they need a little bit more. And then, price on application, we can customize depending on what the client needs. But I think because we do everything from bookkeeping right through to tax, accounting, and advisory, we've got that holistic view of the client, which was also interesting learning from the Americans, because it seems like a lot of the Americans are quite siloed. So you've either got your bookkeeping or your accounting or your tax. There's not many, or I don't know, is there anyone doing it all together? Because I know your tax laws are crazy insane.
Very few, and there really should be more, because when you combine the bookkeeping and the tax work, the tax just becomes so much more efficient. You already have most of what you need, and you can have your bookkeeping team gather it throughout the year. So I've always encouraged American firms to do that, but it's very hard to transition a traditional firm, like you said, Natalie. You have partners who are kind of set in their ways on the tax side, and I think this is important. When you run an accounting services business, you have to be able to say no to certain types of clients.
Yeah.
And in a traditional firm, which might be run mostly by, say, tax partners, you can't say no when they give you a client. Yeah. So it can become difficult to scale that kind of practice.
And especially with the different taxes in America. So what have you got? You've got local, county, state, and federal. Is that? And then all the different sales tax on top.
I mean, it can be a city, it can be state, is federal, and then you can have even more beyond that, local, even more local. Well, I think this is a great chance to talk about what's coming up, Natalie. What projects are you working on? Any collaborations coming up? What are you up to?
So we've got a conference coming up, which is probably a mini conference that's being put on by one of the app partners in November. It's called Access All Areas, and they're going to get together, I think, about 500 accountants, and we're going to have, some fireside chats and collaboration type of things. And it's the first one, so I think it's going to be quite exciting. A real chance for the accountants to actually get together and talk, because I think we go to these other conferences and we meet and we network and all the rest of it, but we don't actually get together and talk about, different topics. So I'm giving a talk on work-life balance and productivity. So that's going to be kind of cool. And then I'm also working on relaunching my TikTok course very soon. So that's coming up. And I'm also working on at the moment, I'm at capacity with my one-on-one mentoring and coaching. So I'm working a way to do that as more of a one-to-many, so a group coaching plus a course. So yeah, it's all happening over
It's a
here
lot.
at the moment. Yeah, it's a lot.
If somebody wants to register for your TikTok course, where should they go?
Well, it's a couple of places. Probably just check out the website. So www.twosidesacademy.com.au.
Great. And if you want to check out Natalie's TikTok and see, some examples of really excellent accounting content, you can go to at Nat Leno, NATLENNO on TikTok, Natalie the Accountant.
And you have
Awesome.
a podcast too.
I do. Yes. Sorry, I forgot about that. So it's called Totally Bossing It, the podcast. There's a link to it on the Two Sides Academy website, or you can search it. Season 1 and 2 were more for the business owners, and then season 3 now is more for the accountants, where I talk about anything from productivity, work-life balance, teams, burnout. I'm just actually going to record a couple more episodes this afternoon. I've been on a bit of a hiatus. I was a bit sick before I came across to Nashville, and then I came back sick, so I haven't really been able to record anything. I've had this terrible cough, so I'm going to batch record a couple of those this afternoon.
Wonderful. Natalie, thanks for joining us. Great to talk to you.
Thanks so much for having me, Blake and David. Have an awesome afternoon.